We have over the past weeks done a review and in-depth interviews with the survivors and victims of both the Mukura massacre and Eastern Uganda insurgency that dates back in the 80s and early 90s. I have shared experiences in all directions, but tonight is unique in its own. We have traversed the region, district after another, and in this episode, the Life Stories crew and myself find our way to Serere district to meet a man who was at the very center of the war ravage in this region. With proper direction, we steadily arrive at Omax, Omeda's country home. Humbly organized is what defines this serene environment. After a little meet and greet with the family, we are warmly showed in. Omax Omeda, a man in his late 60s, is my guest today. His story is an intriguing one. Welcome to the show. The Life Stories crew decided to travel all the way to Serere to visit Mr. Max Omeda, a former UPA rebel leader and now senior advisor to ETSO Culture Union, commissioner for marketing in Uganda Athletics Federation, and also the head of Choga North, heading the authorized officers. Welcome to the show.
Asante sana.
We are really honored to be part of this today. Were you born and raised here?
Yes.
Which year was that? When were you born?
On a Women's Day, that's on 8th March 1946.
Okay.
So when you celebrate Women's Day, I also celebrate my
Your
birthday.
Okay. So which schools did you go to?
I went to very many primary schools. One, I started with a pilot school that's in Adipala. Then I went to Atira. Then from there, you only pass nine pupils to go to P5. And if you are not baptized, you don't go to P5. You have to be baptized first. So from there, I went to Serere Primary School, that's primary 5. After P5, I became a little bit stubborn in that school. I changed the school. I went to Catholic school in Kamod. They used to call it Bugondo Primary School. Then from there, I went to Kadungulu Primary School for P6. I opted to join Serere Junior Secondary School in 1960. So I joined Serere for 2 years. They used to call it Junior Secondary. After that one, I went to a private school, not because I didn't pass, but I was so much convinced when I met one student who spoke very good English, and I asked him, from which school are you in? He said, I'm from Angure Secondary School. Then he convinced me, he said, you know, Angure Memorial is the first private school in East Africa. That's what he told me. I don't know whether it is true. So I decided to go to Angure Memorial School, where I went up to senior 4. Then I joined the police. After senior 4, I decided to join police. The rest of my education now came when I was working. First, I went to Russia for 3 years, that one to study military law. Then I also studied the industrial relations. That one was a distance education that I held. That one I did when I was working, when I was already in the police.
When you went to Russia to study military law, were you already married?
No.
So when did you get married?
I was a bachelor.
Okay.
I got married in a very hard time because my lifestyle was a little bit very funny. Because my father died when I was 3 years.
Oh, sorry.
Then my mommy tried to gamble with me, to educate me. And that one also because she loved her husband maybe so much. That is, maybe she was also thinking about her husband all the time. She also died.
Sorry.
So I joined police and lived a very difficult life because I had no home. in the village here didn't have a home because there was nobody. I was born with the two sisters who happened also to get married. The reason why one got married was to raise the animals that they sold for educating me.
So where were you living all along?
You mean in my village or in Kampala?
No, you said you had no home then.
I had no home.
So where were you
What
living?
I mean, when you go for leave, you should retire to your home village. But because I didn't have a home, I didn't ask for my leave. What I did was to, when I came to the village, just to pay courtesy call, I found there was no house, no nothing, because there was no home. But I thought I better get married so that I can manage life. If I get married, maybe that will manage. But God was so great that I met my wife, who happened also to be an orphan. Because her, at the time of delivery, when her mother delivered her, the mother died and the girl was brought up by her father. So when I identified an orphan to marry an orphan, I thought that life would be so easy, and it is true. We have lived that all that time since we got married. I think it's the most peaceful family in the world. If there was an interview to bring everybody in the world, we would be the leading in the family.
Oh, that's nice. How many children do you have together?
With her, we have 10.
And
We had 10, but now the number is reduced because one was killed.
oh, so
One was killed during insurgency in Teso. Was killed by soldiers, government soldiers, because they were complaining, why are you studying when your father is in the bush? So they shot the boy, so
Oh,
we remained
dear.
with those 9.
sorry about that.
I got married to a second wife, not because I didn't love this one, because in Teso culture, some people believe when you get a bigger job, you should have more wives. So I was convinced to get a second wife, and then the second wife gave me 4 children. One daughter died recently, and they remained with 3. That one remained with 3. Then well-wishers, some two young girls who happened to be my girlfriends when I was working in the coffee marketing board in Kampala. I fell in love with them also. And they gave me 2 children, so I have also, those are the well-wishers, because I was not married to their mothers, but I grew their children, they are with me. And good enough, I've educated them, they are now graduates and they are working. And they are my children.
At the peak of the insurgency in the region, Omeda, a military law graduate at the time, found himself left with absolutely no choice but to become a rebel for the cause of redeeming his own. Together with his team, all they sought was peace and stability to prevail in Teso region. Among their key targets was to protect what matters most to their tribe, cattle.
I joined a rebel group called Uganda, not joining, because it was not there.
You formed?
But we formed a rebel group called Uganda People's Army. That one happened because we were provoked, people in Teso. It was a provocation because when the NRA came into power, we all embraced the movement, and we joined. I was elected chairman LOC 3 in my sub-county. My wife was elected LOC 2. But then, within a short while, things changed. Things started to be bad. And they were hunting for me personally. I don't want to talk about others because I don't know. They were hunting for me. The DA, whom we call now Resident District Commissioner, came to visit my sub-county at Tira. And with the whole happiness, We welcomed him. There's a lot of jubilation. He even held a football match in his honor. That was a Friday. Then on Sunday, somebody came to me, said, you are going to have a meeting on Tuesday. I said, what's the meeting for? He said, the DA is coming. I said, but was here last Friday, just yesterday. What's that meeting again for? He said, no, he's come for a meeting. Then somebody tipped me, said that meeting is arranged or especially arranged for you to be arrested. I said, okay, if that's the arrangement, I will also make some arrangements. I made the arrangements. I sent my family, my wife. I said, you go, express my apologies that the chairman will not be able to attend this meeting because he has gone to get his treatment somewhere. So my wife reported to them, but she saw the reaction because the soldiers came and surrounded people who were in the meeting, and they asked, where is the chairman? They said, no, the chairman is not around. Now, I thought, what do I do? I said the following day, that was a Wednesday, I rode a bicycle from the village here. I went to Soroti. I did not drive my vehicle because it was unsafe for me. I rode a bicycle. I went straight to DS office and I asked him to tell me what was the meeting for and why he wanted me. He told me, no, it was simple. You now started dodging because he wanted to bring delaying tactics when he's communicating to the authorities either to come and arrest me. Then I asked him, tell me one thing. What qualification do you need to have to become a rebel? And he told me, no, you see, you need to be courageous, you need to be what? I said, for you, government has not come to hunt for me, but I think you have a personal grudge with me. What I'm going to do, you are not going to see me, but we shall meet in Kampala sometime. So I just rode my bicycle. They started chasing me around. I came home and I told my family, can I take off with my luggage? I pack my everything. I go to places like Masindi. I go to work in Kinyara or somewhere. They said, no, you stay. I said, let me wait. But the following day, I saw vehicles coming around, hunting for me. I said, there is no way I can sit and wait to be taken just like that. So I started consultation with my friends who are also being hunted for. People like Eregwetila, like others. I said, if this was happening, I didn't have a gun. But fortunately, there was somebody who had a gun, who I think was working the police. I said, that gun is redundant, you are keeping it, give it to me to use. So I got the gun and I started the business. That's how we started. But there was no name of the organization because it was just a provocation. It was a protective measure to go to the bush to protect yourself.
To protect yourself.
But it was not to fight to overrun any government.
Or to kill anyone.
But things changed in the long run. The politicians who wanted the positions owned us to call us their boys. Said, our boys. That's how the thing developed and became a small stripe.
Explain to me in detail, who was fighting who by then?
It was a small stripe, not a tribe fighting government. As I've already told you, that we were provoked when they started mismanaging the affairs of Teso. The group of young men and women ran to the bush, each one to defend, to protect self or herself. But after some time, we said, how long are we going to continue going individually? Why don't we meet and we do something? So we decided that we meet, discuss, said, what do we do? What's the correct way to handle things? We said the correct way, we should have a name, an address. Should have an address, because if you are only one in the bush there, you have no address. But we said, why can't we have an organization called Uganda People's Army, UPA? So we formed that group. We said this, but we didn't have any objective. We didn't have things to, no, we were focused, but we didn't have in mind that our intention was to overrun government. Our intention was to make government understand that we are innocent, but we have gone to fight because we are being provoked.
Just protecting yourself.
Protecting ourselves. But after some time, of course, when we saw the strength was growing, and then we had fighting was going in other areas. For example, like in Acholi, like where there were so many fighting groups now coming. And said, I think we are not misplaced, we are also doing the right thing. We said, okay, we develop and offer positions to ourselves, but we don't offer ranks. If you are in the army, you remain with the rank you had in the army. We did not go to call ourselves general so and so, brigadier so and so, no. We said we maintain our ranks. If you're a civilian, we maintain to call your commander. That's how we did it.
Let's go for a very short break. You're still watching Mr. Max Omeda. Do not go away.